Historians, archaeologists, scientists, and even ordinary people were shaken by the magnitude of this discovery. It was not just another excavation, it was as if the sands of time themselves had opened a window to the secrets of a civilization that had always fascinated humanity. This tunnel, buried deep inside the mysterious 26-pit mountain, had been sealed for over 3,000 years. For the very first time since its closure, it was opened, and what lay inside left everyone speechless. There, untouched by human hands for millennia, were treasures beyond imagination, dazzling ornaments of gold, and the preserved mummy of King Tutankhamun himself. But the most astonishing discovery was the sheer weight of gold found. Experts revealed that the gold inside weighed nearly 103,000 tolas. That's roughly the same weight as a modern Toyota car. This wasn't just wealth, it was a statement of power, prestige, and mystery. Although the treasures themselves are considered priceless and cannot truly be valued, some modern economists attempted an estimate. By today's calculations, the gold alone would be worth more than 5.5 billion rupees. And yet, the real question was not its price, it was its origin. The unanswered question. Even in today's highly advanced world, mining companies use state-of-the-art machinery, heavy equipment, and years of planning to extract gold from deep within mountains. Despite all this technology, mining is still a time-consuming and labor-intensive process. So, the question that left experts baffled was, how did the Egyptians, 3,000 years ago, without machines or modern technology, manage to extract such vast quantities of pure gold? This mystery became one of the greatest puzzles of archaeology, and into this puzzle stepped a man determined to solve it, French mining expert Thomas Fertier. Thomas Fertier's mission. Thomas was not just a scientist, he was a dreamer with a passion for solving mysteries of the past. For him, Tutankhamun's gold was not just treasure, it was a key to understanding the genius of ancient civilizations. He began by carefully studying the composition of the gold found in Tutankhamun's treasures. Over the course of several years, he compared its structure with samples of gold extracted from different mining sites across Egypt. Finally, after long and painstaking research, Thomas made a breakthrough. He discovered that the gold used in Tutankhamun's treasures matched the composition of gold found in stones near the Valley of the Kings. This was the clue he had been waiting for. But the challenge was far from over. The Valley of the Kings was surrounded by thousands of mountains. Which one of these had yielded the gold? And how had the miners of that era managed such an impossible task? Into the desert. Determined to uncover the truth, Thomas, along with his colleague, a skilled geologist, ventured nearly 80 kilometers away from the Valley of the Kings. There, they found stones embedded with traces of gold. The site, however, was nothing less than hostile. Sprawled across 136,000 square kilometers, this barren land was a desert wasteland. Scorching heat and an absence of water made survival nearly impossible. There was no sign of life, no birds in the sky, no greenery, just endless sand and burning silence. Thomas reasoned that if ancient Egyptians had really mined gold here, then they must have created an entire system of survival. A way to house, feed, and sustain thousands of laborers working under brutal conditions. His instincts told him he was getting closer. A strange discovery. After hours of traveling through the lifeless desert, Thomas and his team stumbled upon something strange beneath a mountain. It was an ancient well, now blocked with sand and rocks. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than an abandoned water source, perhaps once used by travelers. But as they dug deeper, they uncovered a hidden chamber attached to the well. Inside, they found walls and ceilings carved with intricate designs and painted with mysterious symbols. This was no ordinary resting place. It was a sacred chamber, perhaps used for worship, or maybe, something more. When Thomas's colleague studied the paintings more closely, he realized they were not just art, they were a map. A hidden code left behind thousands of years ago. The drawings revealed a network of wells and resting stations, stretching deep into the desert. It suddenly made sense. Ancient miners had built a system of resting points, each separated by 70 to 80 kilometers, to survive the harsh desert journey. At each stop, workers could rest, store supplies, and continue their march toward the gold mines. This was not just mining, it was an entire operation of genius planning. Following the trail, excited by the revelation, Thomas and his team pressed further into the desert. They followed the trail of resting stations, moving from one to another. Each stop was further proof of the Egyptians' brilliance, carved chambers, signs of human activity, and remnants of tools. But still, there was no sign of the gold mines themselves. 2 long days later, after endless walking under the burning sun, they spotted something unusual. A pile of stones at the foot of a mountain. At first, it seemed ordinary, but Thomas's instincts told him otherwise. He ordered his team to investigate. And soon, their suspicions were confirmed. The lost mining camp. Beneath the pile of stones, they found remnants of a gold mining camp. Scattered across the site were primitive stone tools, chisels, hammers, and grinding stones, once used to crush rock and extract gold particles. This was the very place where ancient miners had worked tirelessly, breaking down massive stones, crushing them into dust, and separating gold from the rubble. The process was slow and grueling. Imagine hundreds of workers, day after day, striking stones under the burning desert sun, all to produce a tiny amount of gold. Experts estimate that even with 100 workers laboring for an entire week, they would produce nothing more than a spoonful of gold dust. And yet, these miners persisted. For years, perhaps decades, thousands of laborers toiled here, building tunnels into the mountains, hauling rocks to the surface, crushing them at camps, and finally sending the refined gold back to the Valley of the Kings. The sheer scale of this operation is hard to imagine. The tunnels that vanished while the camp provided invaluable insights. Thomas was disappointed. He had expected to find tunnels carved into the mountains, proof of the ancient mining system. But none were visible. Experts believe that the tunnels may have collapsed long ago, buried under centuries of earthquakes and shifting sands. What remained on the surface, however, was undeniable proof of a gold mining network that once powered Egypt's wealth. The legacy of the gold extracted from these mountains was not stored as raw metal. Instead, it was transported in jars to the Valley of the Kings. There, skilled artisans transformed it into masks, jewelry, chariots, chairs, and even the famous golden death mask of Tutankhamun. When Tutankhamun's tomb was finally opened in 1922, archaeologists found over 5,000 artifacts. A treasure so vast it took nearly a decade just to catalogue everything. Each piece of jewelry, every chair, every chariot was a symbol of power, glory, and a civilization that valued beauty as much as strength. Behind each artifact lay the sweat, blood, and sacrifice of countless unnamed workers who had given their lives in the desert to mine the gold. The human story, and here lies the true human touch of this story. It is easy to be dazzled by the beauty of Tutankhamun's treasures, the glittering mask, the golden thrones, the chariots fit for a king. But behind the gold lies another story, the story of ordinary men and women. Men and women who endured the harshest of conditions. Walking endless miles through deserts. Working in suffocating tunnels. Laboring day and night for a vision that was not theirs. They had no glory, no riches, no place in history. Their names were never recorded. Yet, without them, the treasures of Tutankhamun would not exist. Perhaps this is the true legacy of the tomb. Not just the wealth of a boy king, but the incredible human effort, sacrifice, and brilliance that made it possible. Conclusion: the discovery of King Tutankhamun's gold remains one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. But thanks to the work of experts like Thomas Fertier, we now understand that behind this treasure lies a story of extraordinary organization, planning, and human determination. The Egyptians, without modern machines, created an entire network of survival, mining, and transportation, proving once again that ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we often imagine. And so, every time we look at Tutankhamun's treasures in museums today, we should remember not just the pharaoh who was buried with them, but also the countless unnamed workers who made the impossible possible. Thank you for joining us on this journey into history. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales from the past. See you in the next video.